Hello, and welcome to Dreadlocks Question and Answers Part 9. I'm soon going to run out of fingers. First question is coming courtesy of Fatima Chavz, and her question is: my dreads are only 2 months old and they are fine, but my tips always undread when I wash my hair. What can I do? Tips of young dreads are going to come undone because as the water runs through the dread, it kind of pulls on the loose hairs at the tip and pulls them out, so you're going to have sort of loose, wispy ends. And for some people the tips can be sort of the last thing to lock up. It also depends on how you picture dreadlock tips to look. If you're wanting really blunted tips, then that can take a really long time unless you work at them with maintenance. So I would say at 2 months, loose tips that stay loose and get looser with washing are a regular occurrence and to be expected. The various methods that I've recommended before for dealing with loose hairs can sometimes help you out, like salt water spray or rubbing with wool to make those loose hairs a little bit more frizzy and more wanting to lock up. There are other techniques you can use to try and get the tips to be a little bit more locked up, and these work for some people, don't work for everyone. I know there's a technique that involves taking the tip of the dread and sort of balling it and rubbing it against the palm of your hand. Again, this might work for you, it might not. It also depends on how much loose hair there is there. If it's really long and loose, then it's not going to really work. But as with most dreadlock problems that you may encounter at 2 months, they will 9 times out of 10, or more than 9.9 times out of 10, sort themselves out before the dreads get matured, or they will be solved by the dreads maturing. 9 times out of 10, the answer for a dreadlocks problem is time. Next question from Lindsey Mew. Question: I use Dr.Bronners castile soap and I can't fight off the residue. It's the only soap I'm able to use because of skin allergies. I've tried a couple dread shampoos and they gave me hives. That's not good. But it's not working for my 6-month-old dreads. I use a few drops to 20 ounces of water and dump it on my head, then spend 3-something minutes washing it out. But after all this washing and drying, my freshly cleaned dreads leave my hands gross and residue-y. What can you say about this? I don't know what to do. In the question you've written 3-something minutes. I'm not sure whether you mean, does that mean you spend like 3-4 minutes or 30-something minutes? Because if it's 3-something minutes, then you're not really spending an awful lot of time rinsing your hair. When I get in the shower, the first thing I'll do, well, first I'll get my hair wet and then I'll put some shampoo on my head, and then I will, go about my other showering business, and I spend about 15-20 minutes in the shower rinsing while I'm doing this. I'm not exactly sure how long I spend in the shower, but it's a good deal. I spend a good deal longer than 3 or so minutes. If you're spending 30-something minutes in the shower rinsing, then that would be different. You said you use a few drops to 20 ounces of water, and I'm from England and I am not entirely sure how much 20 ounces of water is. I know that Bronners is not specifically a shampoo, it's kind of a soap that you can use for lots of things. You can wash your dishes, wash your floors with it. It all depends on what concentration you have it in. And for dreadlocks, I tend to recommend 1 part Bronners to at least 10 parts water, sometimes 1 part Bronners to 15 parts water, a few drops to 20 ounces of water. I'm not exactly sure what sort of concentration that's going to be at. I personally don't use Bronners. I've used Bronners and I got residue with it because it really needs heavily diluting, and then it's so watery it's kind of difficult to tell how much to use, so I found it quite complicated, well, overly complicated, the washing of my hair. If you use it straight from the bottle, that is really thick stuff and that is not going to wash out very easily at all. But since you can't use other shampoos, that complicates matters. A few suggestions that I have: you can try and use even less Bronners. Again, I really don't know what concentration that is because I am not used to ever using ounces for measuring liquids, I'm afraid. So you can try and use less Dr.Bronners and see if that helps you. Or I would recommend trying some other things to wash your hair with. There's just straight bicarbonate of soda, and you can just get the powder, and sometimes easier if you mix it with a bit of water to make a paste, and you can put that on your hair, or you can just put it straight on your hair and use that as a soap, and hopefully bicarbonate of soda won't bring you out in hives. Or you can try some other sort of organic-y type soaps from Lush, if there's a Lush store near you. I know lots of people have had positive experiences with, I believe it's the Lush Squeaky Green soap. You can try that one. Or what I think I would try if I were you is tea gel shampoo, and that's a sort of medicated anti-dandruff shampoo, and I would hope that it's, since it's not sort of a specifically strange dreadlock shampoo, it's just a medicated kind of dandruff shampoo that you can get in the pharmacy. And I knew that people who suffer with bad dandruff with dreadlocks have managed to use that soap. So maybe that would be helpful for you to try, even if you don't have a dandruff problem. Hopefully the soap is not going to irritate your scalp in such a way that the previous dreadlock soaps have. Nicole Whittle asks, I have baby dreads, almost 3 months old now. I am trying to let them get on with locking up, but they seem really loose, and I feel they are going to come apart. I don't want to crochet them, as I've heard it does more harm than good. Is there anything I can do to help them along, or will they get better with time? Thanks. Yes, they'll get better with time. With dreadlocks, when you start them with backcombing or twist and rip, then for the first few days they're tight from the backcombing, twist and rip. Sort of, oh, I have backcomb dreads or twist and rip dreads, and they're sort of still in their backcombed or twist and ripped state, and then they go from that sort of tight twist and rip backcomb state, and then they get loose and loose and loose. And that's because what you do with your backcombing or your twist and rip, you're usually not creating dreadlocks. All you're doing is creating the sections, sort of sizing up how big you want the dreads to be, and then using the backcombing or twist and rip just to hold those hairs together. And as long as they don't come completely loose, those lumps that have been held together with the initial backcombing twist and rip will then mature over time after they've got loose, and then they become the dreadlocks. Your dreads are only 3 months old, so I don't think you have much to worry about, because they can still have a long way to go. It can take anywhere from like 10 months to, in some cases, 18 months for normal dreadlocks to mature and become, you know, sort of self-sufficient, all locking themselves in and being all nice and friendly towards the wearer. It can take even longer if you've gone with the complete natural method, and that can take years depending on your hair. With regards to crocheting causing more harm than good, many people crochet their hair, and it takes extreme levels of crocheting to really damage the hair, but the main reason that I don't recommend people with young dreads crochet their hair is because it is so easy to go over the top and out of control with the crocheting, and then it's really, really hard, if not impossible, to take it back. Crocheting can be used to just pull in the odd loose hair, clumps of loose hair, annoying hair, especially if it's around your face and you just want it pulled away. But when you have young dreads, they're supposed to be all loose and really messy, and so you'll be crocheting whole dreads all over your whole head, and then more bits will come loose, and it's completely normal for them to be loose at this time. But what happens is, if you crochet the whole dreads, then they get sort of felted appearance, and crocheting makes the dreads quite tight. So if you've ever seen freshly backcombed dreads and they kind of stick out on end, really heavily crocheted dreads are also stiff in such a way, so the whole dread can be quite stiff and pointy, and it's really hard to get rid of the felted texture and get the dreads to relax if you keep crocheting them. So I don't recommend people with young dreads to crochet their hair. Things you can do that aren't going to cause irreversible changes to your dreadlocks. Well, irreversible changes in a possibly negative way. Salt water is good. You get some warm water and mix in some sea salt, and you can spray it on your head try not to get it on your scalp because it can irritate your scalp, but if you get it on the hair, on the loose hairs, kind of makes them dry and frizzy, and then they're going to be more likely to lock up, can help tighten young dreads. Equally, you know, where the method comes from, swimming in the sea is good, and just the salt in the hair making it drier and sort of more coarse. There's more friction and more knotting going on. I often like to recommend wool rubbing, which is just basically get a wool garment, and when you rub it on your hair, it makes the hair staticky and frizzy, and if you do it with non-dreaded hair, then it makes the hair all really dreadlock prone, and if you do it with dreadlocked hair, it can make the loose hair that's left more likely to clump up and lock into stuff. But mainly time is going to be your friend here. The best thing I can recommend is just to forget about them. You know, if they're in the way during the day and you don't want to look at them, just tie them back, keep them out of your face and ignore them, and then time will fly by, and then before you know it they'll be looking better all by themselves. They'll sort themselves out, I promise. Serene Thunder 666 asks, I've been trying to find a recipe for a scented mist for my dreads, like a dread perfume that isn't going to turn all mouldy or turn into a stink rather than a scent. So far I've been doing orange essential oils, a few drops into a squirt bottle of light sea salt water. Simple enough, but do you have any methods or ideas for delicious smelling dreads? Thanks, Jessica. You're basically doing exactly what I would recommend to do. I haven't had a video on it, but it has been something I have had on my list of things to do. Basically, I would take the essential oils that are in my Dreadlock Deep Soak, and instead of soaking my hair with them, I mix them up with a bit of water and then you can spray them. Orange essential oils is not one that I have used. I like to use lavender. Lavender is definitely my favourite scent for my dreads, but it does make me sleepy. You might want to experiment depending on which oils you have with how many drops you want to put in your squirt bottle. I mean, it depends how big your squirt bottle is. But what I like is this, tubes like this, so you get really garbagey spray. It's a spray candy bottle thing. So, but what's cool about it is it's small, so you can fit it in a bag. If you have a handbag, I am a man, I don't have a handbag. But if you had a handbag, you could just fill it with water and put a few drops of your chosen essential oils, and then when you want to just spray it in your hair, you can and do that, and then it's easy to put away. So yes, essential oil, a few drops in some water, and you shake it up. Well, you're going to want to shake it up because the oil is not going to want to stay in the water, and that can give you just a little hint of scent to your dreadlocks, which may otherwise be lacking in scent. Sir Jax asks, have you ever listened to the Cat Empire? They're an awesome funk jazz ska group out of Melbourne, Australia. I discovered on Spotify recently. No, I have never listened to the Cat Empire. I will have to have a look at them on Spotify. Thank you for your question, Sir Jax. That's going to wrap up my Q&A 9. If you are enjoying my Q&A series of videos, feel free to click the thumbs up, and then I will know that you have enjoyed it, and then I'll be like, I will make more of those. And if you like what I do, then you can feel free to subscribe, or if you don't like it, as always, don't subscribe. Freedom of choice. If you have questions that you would like me to answer in my Q&A, you can leave them in the comment box down here, but write question at the start, because otherwise I'll just, as always, type my answer rather than answer it in a video thing. Also, then I know that you've watched the video to the end to gather the instructions, unless you've just seen other people's comments and realised. More things on lazydreads.com, and you can still follow me on Twitter at lazy_dreads. Thank you for watching. Farewell.